11, 2010, and I am interviewing Steve Crabtree. Steve is 57 years old. He was born October 10th, 1953. My name is Brandt Crabtree, and I will be the interviewer. Steve Crabtree is my grandfather. Steve, could you state for the recording what war and branch of service you served in?
Yes, Brand, I was in United States Marine Corps, and I was in during the Vietnam conflict.
What rank? What was
I
your
was
rank?
ranked of E5 Sergeant.
Where did you serve?
I served a couple different locations. I spent some time in Memphis, Tennessee with some training. I was stationed in Santa Ana, California on the Marine Corps Air Base. And then I later did some time in Kaneohe, Hawaii at the Marine Corps Air Base there.
How many years were you in the service?
I was in for 4 years of active duty.
So you served in the Marine Corps. Where were you living at the time?
I originally was from Frankfort, Indiana when I first went into the service. And then later on I stayed in the on-base housing in the barracks there in the military.
How did you happen to serve in this war?
Well, I was basically assigned as a aircraft mechanic. That's what I was trained in doing. I worked on a CH-53 Sea Stallion. I have a couple pictures here that shows you that. This is one picture of the Sea Stallion. It's the biggest helicopter that the Marine Corps had in service at the time. Here's another picture there if you'd like to see. And I was basically trained as a jet engine mechanic. Here's a close-up view of what the engine of this thing looks like. It's pretty interesting. It was quite a experience to be able to work on something like this.
What were you doing before you were drafted or enlisted?
I enlisted right out of high school. I basically wanted to join the service and wanted to have some of the adventures that people did. I had a couple younger brothers, or actually they were older brothers that also served, one in the Navy and one in the Marine Corps. So kind of instilled me to follow their footsteps and learn a little bit about the military and the world.
Did anyone else in your family serve in the military?
Yes, my two older brothers, as I just stated there.
Can you tell me about adapting to military life, physical regimen, barracks, and food and social life?
Yeah, it was definitely a eye-opening experience. Immediately when you go into the military, they give you the basic training. They try to teach you all the skills you need to survive in a conflict if you're involved in one. You're in a group of generally 50, 60 other men that are in a tight quarters, so everything they do, you do, and that's part of the training process. The food in the military is probably similar to what you have here in your cafeteria. It's made in bulk, and they're they kind of have a cafeteria set up similar to what you have here. You get your food trays and get your dinner and stuff. And all in all, it was kind of an eye-opening experience. Just since I just came out of school, it wasn't a lot different, but the physical part and the training part was pretty intense in the Marine Corps.
When you were in the service, when you were working on the helicopters, did you ever carry a gun?
I didn't have to carry a gun with me. I did have some weapons training when I was in the basic training part of it. But as a mechanic out there, there was no real reason for me to carry any kind of a weapon.
How did you choose the branch of service you served in?
Well, as a young boy growing up, you look at all the different services, and for whatever reason, the Marine Corps were always supposed to be the toughest and the best, so I thought I would give that a try. I felt like I had the ability to do it, and I jumped right in there.
What kind of training did you have?
I had several training. The basic training they start you with obviously is survival training and war type training, weapons training, and things like that. After I got through that phase, I started my mechanical training. First, about 3 months down in Memphis, Tennessee, just a basic orientation into engine mechanics and basic jet propulsion. After that training there, I ended up in Santa Ana, California, in the helicopter base there. I was with Headquarters and Maintenance Squadron number 16 out there, and got my advanced training in the helicopter engine mechanics part. The engine on this helicopter is called a T-64. It's about 8 foot in length, and obviously there are very many components to this. So the training was very intense, and it took quite a bit of time, probably almost a year, to get trained to be a mechanic on this machine.
How many hours did you have to train a day?
We generally trained 8 to 10 hours every day in the training phase, and this, like I say, this went on for almost a year.
What kind of training did you have? Were any friendships formed?
I met several people in the service. I did have some friends in there, but it's been a lot of years ago, and it's just been hard to stay in contact with these people. But there were some very good friendships.
Where did you serve?
I spent about a year and a half in Santa Ana, California. We had a big helicopter base out there, and there were 6 huge hangars out there. These hangars were so large you could put 6 Goodyear blimps inside each one of them. These were our helicopter hangars. We could bring them inside and get them out of the weather and do our maintenance work on them. And then after that, I spent 2 years in Hawaii at Kaneohe Bay Marine Air Base. I was with Headquarters and Maintenance Group 24 out there, and that was part of the 1st Marine Brigade.
What did you do for recreation, off-duty activities?
Well, needless to say, spending some time in California and Hawaii both, there was several recreational opportunities. I did learn to scuba dive while I was in California. I pursued scuba diving and off the coast of California. When I got to Hawaii, obviously right on the ocean there, I spent some time learning to surf. Wasn't very good board surfing, but I did learn to belly surf, which you surf on a smaller board. Learned sailing out there. We had some sailboats available for us for recreation, and then of course scuba diving went right along with that. So most of my recreation activities involved the water. Loved the ocean and loved to be around the ocean, and it was quite enjoyable in the time that we had off duty in those locations to spend some time down at the beach.
When you were in the service and when you slept, were the beds pretty comfortable?
No, they're not. They don't engineer the barracks there for comfort. It's mainly set up for to have everybody in one quarters in one area. As a young man out there, I didn't recall them being totally uncomfortable, but compared to the beds that we have today, I'm quite sure they were not near up to the quality that we have in today's military.
Did you ever get to fly in any helicopters or jets?
Yes, I had several experiences flying. Flying in the helicopter was quite a pleasure and a treat. On occasion, after rebuilding an engine, we would have the opportunity to go up with the pilot to do a test flight. Anytime you rebuild an engine, you had to test fly it before they would put it back into service. So I had several opportunities to fly on test flights, and on occasion, when we were in Hawaii, we would get a chance to take a island hop, is what we called it. We would go from island to island, and they would invite us to go along as passengers, and could fly over the ocean. It was quite enjoyable being up in the air flying in one of these things.
Did you ever get to actually control a helicopter?
I never actually got to control a helicopter in flight. I did have occasions to sit up in the cockpit when we were on the ground. I talked to several pilots. I had a great understanding of how the helicopter actually flew, but unfortunately, the only people who were able to fly it are the officers and the pilots. So, as a mechanic and crew chief type person on the aircraft, I had access to those things, but was never allowed to be up in the air flying.
Did you ever have to load missiles onto your helicopters?
No, the helicopters don't actually carry the missiles. The helicopters are mainly out there in the services for hauling equipment and the troops. This particular helicopter, the CH-53, was the largest helicopter that was in service for the military at the time. You could put up to 3 full-size jeeps in the back of this thing, or you could have up to 50 infantrymen in the back of this helicopter. So it was quite large inside the cabin there, and it was more of a workhorse and a transport type vehicle for the service, more than being used for weapons and things like that. But we did have on occasion, we would put a 50 caliber machine gun in a gunner window, and we would take troops over to some of the other islands, and they would have some get some experience and training on firing this 50 caliber out the window of this thing. In the war zone in the Vietnam area, they would keep these weapons and a gunner on these helicopters, because when these pilots would fly in to drop their equipment or drop their men, a lot of times they were taking on enemy fire, so they needed to have some opportunity or some way to defend the helicopter to keep it from being shot from the ground. So they did have 50 caliber machine guns in the windows of these things.
Did you ever have the air base that you were at be attacked?
No, like I said, we were not stationed in Vietnam, so there was no unfriendly action over there in Hawaii. I have several of the acquaintances that I made that were over in Vietnam, and they would tell me stories several times of being on the air base, and they would get mortar attacked, and different type of aerial attacks of missiles and things like that would come in.
Did you ever have to carry a gun out of training when you?
No, I never had the opportunity. Like I say, my basic job in the military was as an engine mechanic, and they did not deem it necessary for me to have a weapon at all times.
Was it very hard training that you had to do, like weightlifting and all that, and doing push-ups?
The physical training that they give you in the military is quite extensive. Fortunately for me, I was at a young age, right out of high school, so it didn't seem like it was all that difficult. We did have some members in our platoon that had a lot more trouble with the physical training part of the training that we got, but all in all, for me, it wasn't that bad. I was in very good shape, and I could do all the exercises and the running and things that were required.
Did you ever have to go out of the Air Force Base to do something?
Several times we had some different missions. One mission that I got involved in, it was a bit of a misfortune, but as a mechanic, I was assigned a duty of when we were in California, we had a helicopter go down. It crashed. We did lose some men in that crash. It was a training mission. The whole tail rotor of the helicopter got tore off when it hit the ground too hard. So they sent me and a group of men down to this air base. With this helicopter tore up like this, they couldn't fly it back to the military base we was on. So we went down and salvaged the parts off of it and loaded it up on a semi and carried it back by truck. We had to take the engines off, the propellers. We took anything that was salvageable apart up there and loaded it on trucks, and then we loaded the body of the helicopter on trucks. Once a helicopter gets damaged like this, it basically is out of service and it cannot be repaired. So it basically ends up being parts, scrap parts for other helicopters that are still in service.
How did you return home?
When I got out of the service, I flew back to California, went to Camp Pendleton, and I was discharged from duty there, and I got on a commercial airliner and flew back to Indiana. It was quite extensive trip there with the two flights. The flight back from Hawaii on a military flight was almost 11 hours in the air.
After you returned home, did you get married?
No, I wasn't married for some time after returning back to Indiana. I had thought about pursuing the aviation field. It was going to take some more extensive training to get me qualified to be a civilian aircraft mechanic, and I decided to choose a different route. I did do some auto mechanical work, uh, and with all the experience I had, I eventually evolved into the railroad industry, and I work as a railroad signalman.
Precipitation by family or community.
Excuse me, ask that question again.
Reception by family or community.
Yes, my family was glad to see me come home. Like I say, I was in the Vietnam era. Very fortunate not to have to serve, but they were very glad to see me back in Indiana, safe and sound.
How hard was it to return to civilian life?
Unfortunately, from the Vietnam conflict, there was a lot of people in America that didn't really understand the conflict over there. There was a lot of sentiment and distaste for anybody that came back from Vietnam era situation there. So I didn't have a lot of issue with it. I wasn't on the ground over there, and I wasn't involved in any of the fighting, but there were a lot of physical protests. A lot of people were against the war in Vietnam, and unfortunately, if they knew you were involved in that or over there, there was a certain amount of dislike. A lot of people tried to blame the troops that were over there for being in the war, and unfortunately, as a military person out there, your primary objective is to do what your superiors tell you to do. So when you're ordered to do something, that's what you do. You don't develop a opinion one way or the other if this is what you're supposed to be doing. You just do your job and hopefully come home safe.
How did you stay in touch with those back home?
When I first went in, it was very easy to write letters and communicate with people, but it seemed like the longer I was in, the farther detached I became from my friends and family. In my time in Hawaii, 2 years over there, I never took a leave. I never got to come back to Indiana. I had local friends over there that I would associate with, so I did lose a certain amount of communication with people back home in my service career.
Action or duties away from the front line?
Excuse me?
Actions or duties away from the front line?
Uh, there again, I wasn't actively served, but my basic task there was to rebuild the engines of these helicopters. Several things would go wrong with these helicopter engines. Sometimes the helicopters would fly into a flock of birds and it would destroy these engines. Other times, after so many hours of service, they would bring the engines in for a basic rebuild. So my main goal primarily was in a machine shop and a mechanic's headquarters, and we would disassemble, find out what was wrong with these engines, put the new parts in, new seals, make sure all components were working, and put them back together and put them back in the aircraft.
Are you a member of any veterans organization?
I don't currently belong to any veterans organization. Probably not a good reason for that, but I just seem to have went in a different direction. I enjoyed the time I spent in the military, but after getting out and in hindsight, it seems like I just separated myself from that and moved in a different direction in my life.
How has being in the military affected your life?
I would say it's been a positive influence on my life. Just coming out of high school, it definitely helped to mature me quicker. You take on all the responsibilities for yourself. Anything that happens out there, you know that you're responsible for and you have to do it. So therefore, I would say it helped me grow up quite well. There are a lot of core values that you learn while you're in the military: honesty, trust, the important things in life, and I learned and retained all of those things in my military activity.
Lessons learned?
Lessons, I'd say one of the most valuable lessons I ever learned was the golden rule in the military. It's a lesson for all life, and You treat other people the way you want to be treated. It's just a good rule to live by, and it was a good drill to have. There was a lot of things that went on in the military service, lessons stellar, and learning the right things to do and the best things to do definitely helped me in my life as I got out of the military and furthered my duty.
Did you ever, when you were returning home, did anybody ever have to take you back to your house or something, drive you?
I had a friend pick me up at the airport. That was quite interesting, and when I got out of the military, kind of come back as a surprise. I didn't tell my mom at the time that I was coming back, and I basically walked in the front door with my duffel bag, and she was totally excited to see me back safe and sound.
So, were your brothers excited when you returned home, or were they still serving?
My older brothers were still serving. My one brother made a career out of the Navy. He spent about 25 years in the Navy. My other brother, that was in the Marine Corps with me, he spent approximately 11 years in the military before he decided to get out.
Does any of your family now serve in the military?
No, all my family is retired from military service, and we no longer have any members in the service.
Did you get any badges or anything when you were in the military?
I received a few badges to wear on my uniform. Nothing spectacular. I didn't get to do any combat duty, but I did get a good conduct medal. I received a rifle marksman's badge, and that's it.
Do you still carry those badges today?
I have those badges at home put away. I have some memorabilia from when I was in the service, but for the most part, it's just something I can get out and look at every now and then and kind of refresh my memory of the places I've been.
Do you still have your uniform?
No, I do not have my uniform anymore, and unfortunately, I doubt it would fit me at this stage of my life. I was a lot skinnier guy back then and a lot more well in shape.
Do you think anybody else in your family would still serve in the military and walk in your shoes?
I would encourage anybody in our family, including you, to consider military service. I know with the conflicts that we have around the world, some people are a little bit discouraged from joining the military service, but all in all, it's a excellent opportunity. You gain valuable assets through the military service, and you also have a chance to go places, do things, and see things that otherwise you probably would never have an opportunity to do.
So, did you ever have to fly to any other country except for America?
No, I did not leave the continental United States. Although, as I said earlier, that flight to Hawaii was a quite extensive flight in a military aircraft.
Do you make any friends when you were in Hawaii or California that you don't remember now?
I had several friends, and I have a story I'd like to tell you about some of the friends that I met in California. I wasn't all that involved in the church groups around California, but I did have a couple friends that were involved, and one week they asked if any of us would like to help them with the volunteer project. And I didn't really have any idea what they wanted to do, but I agreed to help these guys with this church, and found out that this was going to be down in Mexico. So we took a trip down in Mexico. We went about 20 miles south of the border. The country was beautiful down there, although there wasn't much for roads and things like that down there. And back in the 70s when I was out there, I was really amazed at how primitive things still were in Mexico. But the task that these gentlemen and this church was trying to do, there was an orphanage down there, and several children, adoption children, and people running this orphanage. They had no running water down there. So every day they would send the children up with a couple buckets on a stick on their shoulders, and they would have to hike up into the mountain to where they had a freshwater stream and fill these buckets up with water. And they did this every day, these children did, with the adults in tow with them. So this ministry group decided we had the facilities and we had the ability to put a water pump up at this well, and we were going to bury a water main all the way down to what they had was a big cistern down there. So We actually ended up working about 3 weekends on this job. We started at the top. We buried like a 1-inch plastic water line, and these kids had a trail in this a winding trail that went up this mountain to this stream where they'd been walking up there, and they had probably been doing this for years and years and years. So we started burying a water line down there, and we just put it in the corner of the trail and put dirt over the top of it to keep it from moving around. And like I said, it took about 3 weeks to get this task accomplished. So we wound it around and around this trail all the way down to the bottom of the to the orphanage. And there was I call it a cistern. It was just a big tank, a ceramic tank that was where they would store their water. So the day we had this finished, it was quite exciting. They sent one of the students and one of the adults up to the top with our people. They showed them how to start the electric, or it was a gas-powered generator to feed the electric pump, and they started to pump. And they didn't have communications down to the bottom at that time, but they decided that they would run it for 1 hour and let that water run for 1 hour down there. And I was down at the bottom when they did this, and it was very exciting because when that first drop of water came out of that pipe and into that cistern, the kids were screaming and yelling and clapping and excited. It was such an adventure for these kids to finally have some running water down here and knowing that they would not have to carry water down in buckets ever again. So it gave me a lot of joy and pleasure to be able to participate in something like this, and it was truly a blessing to help some people and have that as a worldly experience. So by the time we were done, all the kids would have to do was on an occasion carry some gasoline up there for their gas motor to start their electric pump, and from that day on, and I assume even today, they still have running water down to the orphanage down there. So it gave me a lot of pleasure to be involved in something like that.
Did you ever go back to Mexico to see that?
I never had the opportunity to go back down there to see that, but it's a memory that I'll cherish forever, even though it wasn't part of a combat or military related. I did get involved in that through my military association in California. The people down there, like I say, were very, very grateful for what we did, and it was truly a blessing to be able to help some other people in that way.
After you knew what that church group was doing, did you really want to participate in doing that?
Oh, absolutely. Once I went down for the first weekend and seen what was going on there, it instilled me to continue working on that project until it was finished. And like I say, it took about 3 weekends. We had our regular duties to do during the week, but on the weekends we would go down and we would stay for the day. The local people down there fed us some real authentic Mexican food we ate down there, and like I say, it was quite a wonderful experience.
Are you related to anybody right now that serves in the war except for your family?
No, I don't have any relatives right now that are involved in any of the conflicts that we have going on right now.
Would you like anybody to serve in the war after they get old enough to?
Well, like I said, I think it's a great opportunity. If you or any of your cousins, which we have several cousins in this family, would be interested in that, I'd be more than happy to talk to you. I know some people would try to discourage young people today to go into the military, but I think the benefits outweigh the risk. They train you to be efficient and to do your job, and as long as you're able to do your job, your chances are very good. It is unfortunate that we're involved in a couple conflicts right now between Iraq and Afghanistan. Our military troops are in harm's way out there, but the bottom line is they are the most skilled and trained troops that we have available. They give them the training they need, and as long as they do their jobs and do it correctly, they have great chances of surviving and returning home to their families.
That's a very nice story that you've told us.
Well, like I say, I had several experiences in the military. Unfortunately, no combat experiences, but several things that made a difference in my life, and it's great to have this opportunity to tell you and tell the kids of your classroom that are taking this project on, to give you some of the experiences, not only combat related, but other in ways related to some of the things that happened during the military experiences.
Well, thank you, Steve, for doing this interview with me today.
All right, Brandt, thank you very much.